That little weasel. That little weasel, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the little evangelical twat that he is. Well, he says that the CBO is to be listened to. That was when Biden was the President of the United States, when things seemed to make sense. The CBO said that, well, it ain't looking that good. But now that the CBO is saying it's looking pretty darn dire, now that the taco is the taco of the United States, that is the TOTUS. Well, Mike Johnson is saying, well, the CBO is always wrong there. Funny how they just twist things to suit their own agenda, isn't it? And now Jamie Dimon, who happens to be the chief for JP Morgan Chase. You know, they handle money, they do, yeah. Jamie Dimon warns that the US bond market will crack under pressure from a rising debt. And as Midas News said, we should refer to that budget bill as the murder bill. I think he's got a point, since people will die as a result of that. I've said it before, you know. Oh, I think we should call it the murder bill. Yeah, the murder bill. Well, they've said that will increase the national debt. Instead, you know, they want to raise the debt ceiling by about $3 trillion, don't they? So, you know, obviously what their goals are is to raise the debt. Why do they want to do that? So they can hand a shitload of money to, the billionaires out there, you know. Not for you, no. Hence the actual cost of living is going to go up for those under 30 grand with this murder bill. That is, you know. In fact, you're probably going to lose your Medicaid and Medicare. That's how it is, you see. That's what happens when stupid people do stupid stuff. Stupid is as stupid does. Those who vote for an idiot are well represented. Unfortunately, it's all the others who get dragged along with them, who didn't want all this shit when they were quite happy with the status quo. And, you know, things could have improved. And they were improving. Your GDP was going up, not down. It's gone down in the United States. Another 0.2%. Well done, Donny, well done, Donny. And it's getting worse, it is, yeah, these tariffs are hitting hard, they are. So, Jamie Dimon has warned that the United States bond market will crack under the weight of the country's rising debt, as he called on Donald Trump's administration to place America on a more sustainable trajectory. He's not going to do that. There's nothing sustainable about Donald Trump. He's erratic. He's so fucking... he's just constantly moving the goalposts. Nobody knows where they stand with him. And quite frankly, other countries should be saying, well, sod you, we'll do what we need to do to survive. Just like Canada is. Elbows up. You see, it's no good just sucking up to the old chocolate starfish of the taco. No. Not at all. Because he keeps moving the goalposts. So no deal is better than a deal as far as Donald Trump is concerned. You know, for every other bloody nation out there. Don't deal with them. Find new markets, and other countries are doing just that. In fact, I just saw a video. In a Chinese supermarket. There ain't no American beef, no. It's Australian beef. And the young lad said, it's better. It's not full of all that hormone shit, I suppose. Not like for American beef. Yeah. Well, you see, she also said that the soybeans being replaced as well. And she said that was coming from, I think it was Mexico. They're just coming from other places, you see, not the United States. The United States put the prices up because of the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs on the United States, and the shit hit the fan, and it's tit for tat. All of a sudden, the US farmers are going to suffer. And just like last time, there'll be about 24-odd billion that have to go in handouts to the farmers before they decide to top themselves. In fact, a farmer just has. Well, JP Morgan Chase chief executive said on Friday that he had cautioned regulators, "You're going to see a crack in the bond market." He had it. "I'm telling you, this is going to happen, and you are going to panic. And I'm not going to panic. We will be fine," he said. Now, warning from the head of the US's biggest bank about mounting risks for the US bond market, which sets borrowing costs for trillions of dollars in the debt globally. So it's the bond market, isn't it, you see? And who owns the majority of the bonds in the United States? Well, it's Japan. 1.1 trillion. And then China's around 800 odd billion. Let alone all the other countries that hold US debt. They're looking to exchange that debt. That is going to cause a massive problem. Well, it is, you see. It will, flood the market with more dollars, decrease its value, and quite frankly, the cost of the borrowing will go up, which means you need more borrowing to pay the borrowing, which is effectively legal in most countries. But that's effectively what's going to end up happening. You're going to make yourself bankrupt. That's what happens when you've got a massive debt. Over 30 odd trillion in debt. Now, some people will say, well, the debt isn't really the problem at the end of the day. The debt is a requirement of being the global currency. You can't really be a global currency unless you've got enough debt, because that's kind of how it works. You know, countries, they use your debt. You know, you say, we want to borrow this, and make an offer. Effectively, it's an IOU. And needless to say, you know, these countries hope to make some money. Pay for the Red Army and all that, you know. There's an interest rate. And as the risk goes up, the interest rate goes up. And at the moment, it's looking pretty darn risky to invest in the United States. It just is. Well, Moody's degraded the dollar for a start. So even before the introduction of the legislation, which was voted through by the House last week, and under the review in the Senate, the Congressional Budget Office had projected the US debt as a share of the GDP and would exceed the 1940s era peak in the coming years. Now, what they're referring to here is the big, beautiful budget bill, which, like I say, Midas Networks or Midas News referred to it as the murder bill. And it is. I can laugh about it as much as I like, but anyway, people will die. It's not funny, is it? Not when it could be one of your family members or something, you know. I've seen since the his executive order, what have you, got rid of the Biden cap on pharmaceuticals and what have you. I saw a really sad story about a young man who is an asthmatic. He couldn't buy his he basically rationed himself regarding his inhalers or his medication, and he died. Had a massive asthma attack and died. This is a consequence of Donald Trump. It's a consequence of having a feckin' taco as the President of the United States. A totus. Well, long-term US bonds have come under pressure over fiscal worries, and 30-year Treasury yield trading is around 5%. Blimey. From just over 4% at the start of 2024. It's gone up a whole percentage since Donald Trump has become the President of the United States. A whole percentage point. 1% on 30-odd trillion is a shitload of interest paid. It really is. Now, rating agency Moody's also this month stripped the United States of its AAA credit rating. The Treasury bond market has grown from roughly $5 trillion in 2008. $5 trillion in 2008, and it's now around $29 trillion. $29 trillion. Blimey. That is a shitload of money. The debt is not necessarily the problem. Unlike what they said, the deficit is a problem, but the debt isn't necessarily a problem. You need growth. So you can manage your debt. You need growth to get your credit rating up. And then the debt becomes feasible. But you should use that debt on infrastructure. You invest in your country. And that is really the only time you should be really taking out a debt. A debt shouldn't be there to fill the deficit. It shouldn't be there just to plug the gap, so to speak. Like, for instance, I don't know, you want better train networks. Invest in the country, spend the money on a better train network. Argument's sake. And then you'll find you'll make more money. The GDP will go up. Because businesses can operate better, or even technology and what have you. But no, that's not what Donald Trump is doing, is it? He is destroying the country. And Americans are going to die. MAGA and good Americans as well. Now, the dollar was the world's reserve currency, but I'll tell you one thing, what I was reading earlier today, it looks like many investors are looking to invest in Europe instead, in the euro, because they see it as more stable than the dollar. It's up there, down there, up there, down there. You can't risk your money like that. You just can't. Anyway, what do you say? Please leave it in the comments down below. Am I on the money there? Excuse the pun. I suppose I better get back in the old workshop and do a bit more work, I suppose. Although it's pretty darn late. I ain't got a watch on. Oh, bugger. Toodaloo. Oh, don't forget, boop the like button. What's more, channel it on Patreon, the bars, coffee, links down below. There's also super thanks as well, and it's very much appreciated. Anyway, one last thing to say. Canadians, elbows up!